Hello, mga Welcome to our life! Are you sad? Are you hurt? Are you lost? Are you lonely? Worry no more. You are at the right channel. Welcome to Excuses!
Hello mga ka-X!
Hello mga ka-X!
In this video, you will learn about absolute value. In mathematics, the absolute value of a real number x, denoted absolute value of x with a vertical bar on each side, was introduced by a German mathematician, Carl Theodor Wilhelm Weierstrass, in 1841. Take note of the sign of the absolute value. This is the sign of absolute value. If we put a positive number in these two vertical lines, it will result to the same number you had input. Let's have an example. Let us place positive 4 on the absolute value sign. The result is 4. When you see something found in the vertical lines, it means find the absolute value of it. What about if we put negative number in these vertical lines? Let's have negative 4. What is the absolute value of negative 4? The answer is 4. What? How can that be? What does absolute value even mean? Absolute values are mostly used in problem which involves distance. Distance is always positive. This, of course, simply explains that absolute value is indeed important to everyday life since it is related to transportation or navigation. One might ask, do we have enough fuel to get there and back? And now, let's try to answer this activity about absolute value. Let us answer the essential questions in Activity A, entitled How Far Will I Go? Using the number line above, tell me how far will I go from the starting point. Are you ready? Let us start at question A. How far I am from 0 to 3. Our starting point is 0. Let's do the hop going to positive 3. Help me count. 1, 2, 3. Therefore, 3 units is the distance from 0 to 3. Question B. How far I am from 0 to negative 3. Our starting point is 0. Let's do the hop going to negative 3. Help me count. 1, 2, 3. Therefore, 3 units is the distance from 0 to negative 3. With your knowledge and understanding from the activity, it is time to learn new concept. Absolute value means distance which shows how far a number is from 0. As you can see below, positive 3 is 3 units away from 0. And negative 3 is also 3 units away from 0. So in other words, we can see the absolute value of positive 3 is 3 and the absolute value of negative 3 is also 3. Again, the absolute value is the distance of a number from 0. This is why the absolute value is never negative, because the absolute value only asks how far and not in which direction. Reminder, the absolute value notation is vertical bars, not parentheses or brackets. Use the proper notation. The other notations do not mean the same. Let me show you some examples. Number 1, what is the absolute value of positive 4? The answer is 4. Number 2, negative absolute value of negative 4. Looks like a little bit complicated. Why there is a negative sign outside the absolute value signs? If you see a negative sign outside of absolute value signs, it means you need to negate that group, meaning multiply it by negative 1. So negative absolute value of negative 4 is also mean negative 1 times absolute value of negative 4. Take note, when it comes to order of operation, absolute value signs is similar to parentheses. It means you need to simplify them first before you start working on other operations. So let's simplify first absolute value of negative 4. And that is 4, then multiply it by negative 1. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Very good. Number 3. What is the absolute value of negative 2? Yes, the answer is 2. Oh, how about for 0? What is the absolute value of 0? Yes, it is 0, because there's no distance. We can count from 0 to 0. I will show you the difference of absolute value signs and parentheses. Let's take this example. Negative absolute value of negative 4. Again, if there is a negative sign outside from the left of absolute value signs, it means we negate that group by multiplying negative 1. So we can think of this expression as negative 1 times absolute value of negative 4. Absolute value signs is a group like parentheses, meaning we need to simplify first what's inside in this sign before proceeding to other operations. So let's evaluate absolute value of negative 4, and that is 4. Then proceed to multiplication. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Let's take somewhat similar expression, but this time it uses parentheses. We have negative, the quantity of negative 4. Again, if we see a negative sign on the left, it means we are going to negate the group beside it. So we can think of this expression as negative 1 times the quantity of negative 4. So the result for this answer is positive 4. As you have noticed, their results are different. So it is important to know the difference between absolute value signs and the parentheses. Previous examples shows the distance of a number from 0. This time, let me show you the distance between two numbers. Help me answer this question. Using the number line, what is the distance from -1 to +3? Let us count as we start from -1 moving to +3. Altogether, let us have 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, 4 as the distance from -1 to +3. Let us answer more examples for you to understand more. Number 1, what is the absolute value of -8? The absolute value of -8 is, yes, it's 8. If you ask to find the absolute value of a negative number, it means find the distance of that negative number from 0. Number 2, what is the absolute value of +10? Yes, it is 10. Number 3, negative absolute value of -7. So we have learned from previous examples, if there is a negative sign outside of the absolute value signs, it means we need to negate it by multiplying -1. So this expression is the same as -1 times the absolute value of -7 is 7. Then let's multiply -1 times 7. The answer is -7. Very good. Number
I know you have learned mga ka-X. And now mga ka-X, if you feel bad or have a negative feelings or feel broken-hearted, just place yourself in the absolute value sign so that everything will be positive. Thank you.
If you find the lesson confusing, feel free to hit the replay button. Replay! 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 Replay!